Yes, it's time again for your favorite podcast. This is a Survival of the Fittest, the Soup du Jour. I'm Roberto Trevino, and today has been one of those days. Rain, rain, and more rain. And I don't mind so much because I live right in front of a lake, and watching the day rain away is not bad, all right? It's pretty relaxing. It's, what can I say? It's one of those things that I lived in the tropics. Everyone knows I lived in Puerto Rico for many years. So it's como que you watch the rain fall in Puerto Rico and it kind of comes and goes, but it's a beautiful thing. So one thing I do enjoy about Central Florida is it rains often. And it just kind of takes me back to that tropical feeling that I remember. And it was so me llamaba tanta la atención. It was just calling at me so much today with this rain and everything that I said to myself, you know what I need? Some more comfort. More comfort, meaning more comfort food. And I called Rick from Havoc Media and I said, dude, ¿dónde vamos a comer? Puerto Rico, ¿dónde vamos a comer criollo? And he said, all right. We're going to go to one of my favorite places. We went to Casa Vieja. And it was absolutely delicious. You know what? One thing you don't find too often here in Central Florida son vasitos de marisco. You know, whether it be like un vasito de ensalada de camarón, un vasito de ensalada de carrucho, you know, something along those lines, the combination. And honestly, when I saw carrucho, I said, you know what? Let's check it out. You know, this is what's going to be the test to see whether or not there's some real skill in that kitchen. And, you know, you say to someone, you're going to go to carrucho, man, that's a little bit risky, but whatever. I said, bring it. And it was perfect. It had the flavor. It had, you know, the perfect texture. You know, carrucho is one of those things that if you overcook it, it becomes tough like an eraser. I mean, totally inedible if it's overcooked. This was not. This was great. And had just enough peppers and onions and vinegar and oil for it to just be exactly what I needed today. So I had that with some tostones de pana. Pana is breadfruit. If you've never had a tostón de pana, you're missing one of the great wonders of the world. Because they're wonderful. They get super crispy. They're super perfect for frying. And it just nothing was better than with the tostones de pana than this carrucho. So we hit it out of the park with that. We started with that. And then I was like, okay, enough. But then I looked at the menu and I said, Now, I did a show yesterday, an interview with Bagel and Shadow. The best. It was wonderful. And it was wonderful. And next thing you know, we're talking about what do you love? I mean, what are the things you miss most, and what are the things you love most about Puerto Rico? And what came up was mofongo. And I said, well, you know, I have a body built by mofongo. So we're at this place today, and I see a whole section of mofongo. And I'm not in the mood to have a whole lot of meat or anything. I want to taste that mofongo. I want to taste the garlic. I want that mofongo to be perfect. And I want arroz habichuela, white rice and beans, criollo-style beans. And that's what I ordered. I ordered a mofongo with no protein, arroz y habichuela, and then they happen to have this pique, this hot sauce, Puerto Rico hot sauce. It was the best. It had that enough of that garlic and oregano flavor that I just kind of went, and I poured it all over everything and just, okay, so let me just recap. Raining all day, comfortable, criollo cooking. Man, you know, I'm in heaven. And then, you know, we were like, I said, hey, man, we should probably do a podcast because when I'm when I feel that this happy about a meal, then I really just want to do a podcast to share with everybody. Now, if you're within an earshot of where I'm broadcasting from here in Orlando, Florida, you need to go to Casa Vieja. It is the best. I mean, hey, I always say that when I love a place, right? But this place really, I had actually un jugo de parcha, which is passion fruit. And you actually saw like the pulp and the seeds in there. And I'm not sure if there's a trick or it was real passion fruit just ground up and made into this juice. Wow. I mean, what an experience. You know, and the place has kind of like, you know, a bar feel to it. I'm not going to deny it, but, you know, definitely, you know, it feels like you're in Puerto Rico. It's a trip because I said to myself when I was eating, I said, you know what? This is like being in Puerto Rico. This food tastes like Puerto Rico. And, you know, a lot of places I've noticed like to do long grain white rice with their criollo cooking. Not this place. They did grano mediano, medium grain, criollo style rice. Again, just the best. And I just got to tell you, I was so happy with this meal today that I had to share with all of y'all. And you got to make it over there. And if you're in the drinking mood, then definitely got to get yourself some of that great beer that they have there. And they had all kinds. They have medallas. They got it all. You know, so I mean, it's a true criollo experience. You know, with all the Instagrammable like corners and spots and things going. I mean, you know, modern restaurants really have to keep that in mind. Keep that in mind that sometimes that's what people want. They want not only their culinary experience, but they want their whole moment. That moment of being together, of deciding to eat in a certain place, but they want those little niches, those little places where they can say, here's our Instagram wall, here's our Instagram dish, here's our little Instagram, you know, totem pole, you know, in the back, and so on and so on. The big chair, you know, the Puerto Rican flag, the works. It's all there, and people are taking full advantage of it. They love it. You know, they absolutely love it. They're taking pictures. They're drinking. You know, el ambiente. They got loud salsa, Frankie Ruiz, el sonero mayor. They're all, you know, I mean, you know, me and my yellow, of course. They're all, you know, just the best. It's like if you were listening to, tú sabes, un clásico del Salón de la Fama en la Z, tú me entiendes? It's just like, forget it. You know, you're just living it. Y estás como que so happy. And it just has it all going on. So the Instagrammable spots are there. And again, I think restaurants, as they're opening up in the future, they really have to keep that in mind, that some of their best, you know, the modern word of mouth today is Instagram. There was a time in history where they would say, no, you know, you got to, it's all about word of mouth. If everyone's talking about your restaurant, then people are going to go. And that was true for many, many years. And now, if you have a huge following on Instagram, and if people are going to your restaurant and they're Instagramming, they're hashtagging, and they're just, you know, they're tagging your restaurant and all their pictures, imagine the influence that has over all their followers, and the power that has to put your restaurant and your food and your vision out there for people to appreciate and like and or repost and or decide to go and try your food. Decide they want to take that Instagrammable picture. And that is key. And I noticed that this place had those elements. And I said to myself, well, someone has to be very keen here to these things, because that's not just anybody who can recognize that. That's just not anybody who sees the value in people taking your message forward. You know, yes, word of mouth, huge. Yes, Instagram, even bigger. And that's the times we're living in. I remember there was a time in the restaurant business where people would come and they weren't necessarily advertising firms. They weren't necessarily, you know, influencers. This was before all that. they were more like just socialites. And they would come in and say like, hey, tengo una lista. I have a list of guests, people that I communicate with, my Rolodex, if you will. And I will get people to come to this restaurant, but I want free meals or whatever the case, or I want some money, whatever, some kind of compensation. And that was the way they did it before. Now we see a whole new set. The list is different now. The list comes in ways of followers. And the followers are not necessarily, a list of 50, 60 of the wealthiest people in your community. No. Thousands of people. And, the carryover from person to person to person to person is amazing. So hats off to any restaurateur or chef who recognizes the power of Instagram, the influencer, the tags, and most important, having your own Instagram account, and putting up that content. Content is key. Content is what will get you noticed and also allows you to explore more creative sides of what you set out to do. And that's share. Now, I have a friend who is an ex-alumni of mine in one of my kitchens as well. It's good to see him. Well, Josian, at Grillers PR, and he's expanding and he's doing a great job. But you see, his content is good. He's constantly putting things out there. He's constantly kind of over the top kind of expressions with the things he tastes from his kitchen. And I think that's super cool. And I think he's doing a great job. He's really kind of mastering that angle. And, I think that is, first of all, super cool to see him doing well. Second, that, because he's one of these people that comes up from from the salt, from the, just, that's it. Comes of that, brings it on, sticks to his guns, literally just sticks to his vision. The name stays loyal to his concept and blows up and does well. So that is proof that, content is key. A lot of other restaurants that have just incredible locations and they've got years under their belt and, they're kind of old school about their approach to running their restaurant. And sometimes that's not enough. They don't necessarily believe in Instagram. They don't believe in the power that Facebook had at one point. I really think Instagram has become the go-to, when it comes to restaurants and entertainment venues. But some of these old school restaurants just don't see it. And they have incredible locations and they have incredible numbers and they've done well for years and they've got wealth built up. But they're missing the boat. They're not keeping up with the trends. They're not creating content. Some are. Some are doing a decent job. Others are not giving it the value that it deserves. I mean, the hardest thing, I believe, is to say, okay, well, I finally opened my own restaurant. It was very difficult. It took many years. It took a lot of money. It took a lot of sweat, tears, the works, And here it all is, blood, sweat, and tears. And then I fall short because I'm not willing to see what is really working and what's making restaurants crank. And people want their restaurant to crank. So many restaurants that I see now, there was a time in history where you'd have to wait for food arts to come out, and you'd get the deep dish, and you would find out what the hottest restaurant in New York was from your small town in California or in Texas or wherever you're from, in San Juan, Puerto Rico, or and it was even further out when you were in San Juan. To get news from the States, man, to get the New York Times in 1993 was $10 for the New York Times. $10 for a newspaper. You just didn't do it. And that's Puerto Rico, because you can imagine how hard it was to know what was going on in other cities. But now with this revolution, you're finding out what are the hottest and hardest tables to get in New York. What is the hottest restaurant in your little town in Texas? What is the hottest restaurant on the island of Puerto Rico? And it's all happening via the internet. It's all happening via Instagram and followers and reposts. If that's not enough for you to be 100% convinced, because I'm not saying this because I feel like, I'm a guru of this, because I'm not. But certainly one who has been around the block knows the good, the bad, and the ugly of this business. And I'm just as impressed as a lot of you. And just as blown away and in awe of the power that these mediums have. To the point where I remember even YouTube, people used to say to me, oh yeah, forget TV. What you got to do is start a YouTube channel. And we're talking about way back when. And you'd say to yourself, a YouTube channel, come on, man. That's like, strange. Yet it has become the norm now. It has become how it's done now, There's people making so much money on their YouTube channels, putting out such great content. Some of it is exceptionally good. Better than a lot of production on TV, on demand, whatever it's called these days. I still love TV. There's just something historic about it, and I always go on about this, but it's true, I do. But there's something to be said about all these different, mediums that you can use to get your message out there. And I think that the longer we live, the more avenues we will see going forward. We will see more content creating sort of sites. We will see new trends. Now I see apps that share restaurant secrets and chef secrets with you, and you go to them and you kind of check them out. You want to say, well, what is all this, And you're learning to do pommes ana, things that you'd have to work years in a French kitchen to be taught to do. We're definitely living some wild times. Technology, I would not say that has robbed us of something special. It's just time. It's just the way it is, We've not been robbed. We've been gifted. And we've been gifted with technology. And it's allowing us to be better at our craft, whether it be creating content or creating food, creating imagery, for people. And all this is attainable now through technology. Look how well your phone camera can capture pictures, and you can edit. And now you can take videos and you can edit. And there's apps out there that help you edit to make things look like if they're a Hollywood movie. That is amazing. That's what we're living these days. It's only going to get better. And it's allowed restaurants to truly kind of find new ways to get people in the door, or what we used to say, asses in seats. It's awesome, and then you see these, often people want to fight about this, like, no, I don't need any of that. And they want to fight you about it. And you're just like, you know what? Don't fight me. You don't have to fight me. It's just the way it's going. So be ready. Get yourself sharpened up. You never wanted to walk into a kitchen when you were a young cook with your dull knives. You wanted them to be sharp so you could produce the best food ever. And you also want to be sharp when it comes to understanding technology and content. So sharpen those knives and get your content really good. All right? That's what I have for you. This has been another exciting episode. Time with me on Survival of the Fittest is the Soup du Jour. I'm Roberto Treviño, and guess what? I'm going to say hi to everyone around the world listening to us, especially my family in Texas y Puerto Rico y Nueva York y California. Saludos a todos. I love you. We'll see y'all soon. Survival of the Fittest is the Soup du Jour. I'm Chef Roberto Treviño. We'll see you soon. Later.